So Joey Chestnut is out of the Nathan's hot dog eating contest this year. He had an exclusive contract with Nathan's where he couldn't advertise for any competing products. Got $200,000 a year from Nathan's, but then he got over $1 million from what I understand to advertise for vegan meat hot dogs. He had won every single contest since 2007 with one exception in 2015 when he lost to YouTuber Matt Stoney. Now Matt came in third the year after that, fourth the year after that, fifth the next year, and then he stopped doing the contest. He's got 16 million subs on YouTube. My guess is he had similar conflicts of interest and decided there were other things to eat. On Labor Day, we're getting a one-on-one with Joey Chestnut and Kobayashi. Takeru Kobayashi, and I might be botching his name, but he was the champ before Joey Chestnut. And there had been this USA versus Japan aspect to the hot dog eating contest, which I'm going to break down for you in a moment. But I just want to mention this about Kobayashi. He once had a hot dog eating contest against a bear. Kobayashi had been champ since 2001. He was dethroned by Joey Chestnut under circumstances that we should definitely look into. But to understand this, let's go all the way back to the very beginning of the hot dog eating contest. This is Mortimer Matz. He was the promoter for the Nathan's hot dog contest in the 1970s and 80s, and he promoted this thing masterfully. He would tell everybody about the glorious history of this hot dog eating contest. He would talk of the very first of the annual hot dog eating contest held July 4th, 1916, with 4 immigrants who were arguing about who was the most patriotic and realized the only way to settle it was to eat as many hot dogs as possible. And the man that ate the most hot dogs was the champ and the most patriotic. The story was retold like a game of telephone, and details were changed and tweaked in it. At one point, people would say that Jimmy Durante had won the contest, which didn't make sense because he wasn't an immigrant. Now, none of this was actually true. Matz had made this whole story up. The first contest was 1972, but he told this lie over and over, and it was reported in every newspaper for decades. It wasn't until 2010 that he finally was like, look, I fess up. This is not a real story. Now, the legend had been that the contest was held every single year from 1916, only skipping a couple of years because of World War II. In reality, 1972 is the first one. They did skip a couple years. They would jump around from Labor Day to Memorial Day to April at the start of the summer season at Coney Island before eventually settling on Independence Day around 1979. Now, there had been one hot dog eating contest at Nathan's prior to 1972. It was in 1967 to celebrate what was purported to be the 100th anniversary of the hot dog. It was held on June 30th, 1967, and records were not very precise because the winner, Walter Paul, ate either 13.5, 17.5, or 18.5 hot dogs. Now, Walter's contest was a 60-minute hot dog eating contest. The contest then went to about 3.5 minutes, bounced around between that and about 5 minutes for many years. 1972, they actually had 2 contests. The first one was on Memorial Day, and it was won by Jason Schechter. The second was held on Labor Day 1972, and it was won by Melody Anderfer. Melody ate 12 hot dogs. She went on to become a nurse, and she said that the paper crown that she was given as a prize was washed away in a flood. But years later, she was honored by Nathan's and got one of the mustard yellow championship titles. Now, no one knows who won in 1973. There was first going to be a contest on April 7th, and that was going to be the kickoff of the season. But unfortunately, it coincided with a nationwide meat boycott. This was a 1-week meat boycott that was organized by women's groups that was so successful that President Richard Nixon had to put a freeze on meat prices. The plan was that no one was to eat meat or buy meat or cook meat. Wikipedia says that the boycott was practiced more by women than men because men tended to eat meat that had already been purchased prior to the boycott. I mean, you got a steak in the fridge. You don't want to leave it there for a week. You're not going to put it in the freezer. I understand you, 1973 men. Now, Independence Day 1973, they claimed was the 106th anniversary of the hot dog. And and they had a contest in Coney Island. It was refereed by Miss Coney Island 1973. No one knows who won, how many people competed, how many hot dogs anybody ate. 1974 had 3 events, one of which ended in a tie, with Walter Paul, the guy from 1967, coming back and tying a guy named Paul Syrup. No one knows how many hot dogs they ate at all. They also had a contest that year which was going to be deciding who the new Miss Coney Island was, so it was an all-female hot dog eating contest, but they had pressure at the last minute and they decided to let men in. But the winning female ate 8.5 hot dogs and the winning male ate only 8. Only 8. That's a lot of 8s. There were no hot dog eating contests at Nathan's in 1976 or 1977. I guess everybody was busy watching Star Wars and Rocky. 1978, we had a tie with Manuel Hollenbeck, who was 18 years old, eating 10 hot dogs, and Kevin Sinclair, who was 10 years old, also eating 10 hot dogs. So the contest continued, now being held on July 4th, but no one was coming close to Melody's record of 12 hot dogs. The closest we got was 11. And that was eaten by a man named Thomas DeBerry. He was a gardener by trade, finished his 11 hot dogs, and then skipped the ceremony because he had to get to his family barbecue. And the next year, Stephen Abramos ate 11 hot dogs, took one bite of the 12th, and then quit. And then in 1984, Birgit Feldin wins. Now, she was a teenager from West Germany who was on vacation in America, saw the contest, had never eaten a hot dog before, signed up, ate 9.5 hot dogs to beat the other 23 contestants in 10 minutes. Now, she was the first non-American to win this, and this was considered to be an American contest, a very patriotic event. And so, in 1986, they had the champ from 1985, Oscar Rodriguez, go one-on-one with Iraqi Tamanaga. The Japanese competitor won on that day with 10.5 hot dogs. But still, that was less than Rodriguez had eaten the year before when he won the contest. Now, Oscar did not repeat as champ. That year, he lost out to another American named Mark Heller. As a matter of fact, no one repeated until 1988 and 1989 when Jay Green won back-to-back contests. And at that point, Nathan's decided that he was retired and could no longer compete in the contest. Now, the 2 times and then you're retired rule didn't seem to last because Frank Della Rosa also competed, won 2 in a row, and was going for his 3rd in 1993 when he had to pull out because of a family emergency. He then retired from competitive eating and went out to become an actor. He actually did pretty good, getting parts on The Sopranos and Law and Order. The next champ was Mike DeVito, who went back-to-back, also went one-on-one with a Japanese competitor and won. I want to take a moment to talk a little bit about this mustard yellow championship belt because, like everything else with this, the story behind it is a little bit murky and possibly fishy. The first time the press mentioned this title belt was 1996, and they claimed that it had been part of the Nathan's contests since 1986, when it was won by a Japanese competitor who took it back to Japan. But they also claimed that prior to Nathan's having it, it was a long-running title in the country of Japan. I don't think any of this is true. So back to Mike DeVito. He won the 1994 contest as well, eating 20 hot dogs in 12 minutes. Ed Krejci finished 2nd and Curtis Sliwa finished 3rd. He was the head of the Guardian Angels, a very famous radio personality. He had won the Oscar Mayer hot dog eating contest, which was separate from Nathan's, and he competed for several years. More recently, he tried unsuccessfully to become the mayor of the city of New York. Also, since the news of Joey Chestnut being banned, he's floated the idea of him making a comeback. Ed Krejci finished in 2nd. The next year, 1995, he brought home the title, and then he had a one-on-one contest with a Japanese competitor named Hirofumi Nakajima, and Nakajima won that contest. Nakajima went on to win the Nathan's contest for the next 2 years. An American named Steve Kiner won the next year, but videotape review shows that he actually started eating his hot dogs before the start of the contest. This was not caught, but he should have been disqualified. Kiner was dethroned the next year in 2000 and actually finished somewhere in the middle of the pack. Kazutoyo Ariya, a Japanese man, won the contest eating 25 1/8 of a hot dog. As a matter of fact, all 3 of the top finishers that year were from Japan. Enter Kobayashi the following year, and he doubles the amount to 50 hot dogs. He's also the first person to dunk the buns into water and smush them into his mouth, which made the contest far more effective and far more disgusting. He's also known for creating the Solomon method, where he breaks the hot dogs in half as he eats them. The name comes from King Solomon and the old tale about the 2 people that claim the baby, and so the baby, he says, I'll split the baby in half. Well, instead he splits hot dogs. Kobayashi wins for several years, and then in 2007 he writes on a blog on the internet going into the contest that he's injured his jaw, and he's still going to compete, but he can only open his jaw this much. He then goes on to eat a personal best 63 hot dogs, but he is beaten by Joey Chestnut, who eats 66. July 4th, 2009, he ups his total to 64.5 hot dogs. Joey Chestnut eats 68. Throughout the rest of the year, him and Joey Chestnut go head-to-head in a couple other contests. They eat Pizza Hut P-Zone, and Kobayashi wins. They eat Crystal's hamburgers, and Kobayashi wins. But then Kobayashi refuses to sign an exclusive contract, and he's out of the Nathan's contest. July 4th, 2011, unable to compete in the hot dog eating contest, Kobayashi is on a rooftop bar in New York City. And he is eating hot dogs at the exact same time as the Nathan's competitors, and he breaks the world record by eating 69 hot dogs. But the current world record is 72 hot dogs eaten by Joey Chestnut at the contest in 2021. So we're going to get 2 contests this year. We're going to have the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, where we are sure to have a brand new winner. Also, there will be a women's hot dog eating contest at Nathan's. They've been doing a separate women's contest every year since 2011, and most years it is won by Miki Soto. We'll see if she wins again this year. And then on Labor Day on Netflix, one-on-one, Joey Chestnut and Kobayashi. Who's going to win? By the way, big thanks to everybody on Patreon, especially Michael and Jessica. You can join for $3 and I'll send you a postcard in the mail every single month. In 2003, they had a celebrity contestant in the hot dog eating contest, William the Refrigerator Perry. He went to the qualifiers, ate 12 hot dogs, but on the day of the event, he ate just 4 and then quit after a few minutes. And since then, they've never had another celebrity contestant. Well, to be fair, these contestants are now celebrities. But I love William the Refrigerator Perry. I love the whole Super Bowl shuffle thing. I dug into the history of that event, that song, and what it did to our culture. And my goodness, that was one heck of an impact. I put a video together. You can check it out here. Otherwise, YouTube says this one is what is best for you. I got a second channel now, by the way. Check that out. And I'll see you next time.